Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and installing our Roadmaster Battery Disconnect for our 2018 Ford Edge. The Roadmaster Battery Disconnect switch is going to allow you to push a button inside your vehicle and just kick off your battery if you need to. Most of the time, one of these systems you're going to need for flat towing. What it's going to do is it's going to allow for your battery to not get drained from your RV or your car because you're disconnected from it and you're not going to have any accessories running inside your vehicle or pulling any kind of back draw to your RV. So what you're going to need to do is have one of these installed, and all you got to do is push the button, and that's going to allow you to disconnect your vehicle. As far as installation goes, there's a couple extra things you're going to need to get it installed. If you watch our video and you decide it's not something you really want to get into, you can take a look at our dealer locator and have it installed locally for you. If it's something you do want to try yourself, stick around and watch our video and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation, you will notice that we do have our fascia off here. We're going to be installing a base plate kit, so that's why we do have that off. You don't have to take that off to install this battery disconnect switch. So now we'll get started and show you how we're going to get it installed. First thing you're going to want to do is figure out a good location for your switch. You're going to want to have it close enough to your battery where you'll be able to make your connections. You also want to make sure that you're going to have your wire able to go through your firewall. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run ours right here and against this. And when you do find a good place, you want to make sure none of your hinges or your hood or anything comes in contact with your switch. Now we have our location figured out. In our kit, we're going to have our self-tappers here, and they are going to be 3/8. We'll just get them screwed into place here. When you do install them, you want to make sure there's no wire looms or anything behind where you are screwing them to. So we'll just go ahead and get them installed now. In order to get our disconnect hooked up, we're going to have an additional battery terminal here with the post type deal on top, and we're going to have to remove our positive terminal here. Now we'll get our terminal installed. I'm going to get it pushed down on there as far as you can. And then we'll come back through and we'll tighten that up with a wrench or a socket. Now we have our cable that says battery post. We're going to need to run this one over here to our post, and we have it set up to where it doesn't have enough room to go over. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drill this out a little bit to make room so it will go over our post. Now we have it where it will go on. We'll just get our wing nut put in place. Now with the cable that says battery cable, this is going to be the one that goes to our end that we took off here. Now on the end here, it's going to thread out to where it's going to stop. We're going to need to get past that. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold in the end and just try and get it to crank off. Once you get that all backed off, you can pull off your nut. Then we'll take our cable that says battery cable side and we'll get it installed, and we'll replace our nut and get it tightened down. In our kit, it does come with shrink wrap where you'd be able to cover this up. So since the way we had to do this, because we don't have a removable cable right here, what we're going to do is we're just going to put a whole lot of electric tape around this, and we'll zip tie this out of the way. Now that we have everything connected and our wire all taped up here, we were able to push our wire down, and there's a harness down here. We did end up going through and kind of zip tied that off to that, and that'll keep it out of the way of everything. Our white wire here is going to be our ground, so we're just going to get it figured out where we're going to get it grounded to. Right here we have a factory ground post, so we're going to go right to that. Just need to leave a little wire here, so we're going to cut it back. We'll get that stripped off. Now to get this to ground to our post here, you are going to need a little bit bigger ring terminal here. This one is bigger than the one that we have in the kit. The small one in the kit will not fit on this post, so we do have these available here at eTrailer. Now we'll just get this one crimped in place. After you crimp it, you want to make sure it has a good bite, and we do there. Now we'll just back off our post and we'll get our ground set up. Now this is the whole post, so this is going to come out, so don't let that scare you. Just get it put on there and thread it back in place. Now the gray wire that comes off our solenoid here, we did have to find a grommet in the back by the firewall there. So what we did is we just pushed a little hole in that and we ran our fish wire out here, and we ended up taping off to our fish wire here and then pulling it back through and then untaping it. Now I'll show you where it came into the inside of the vehicle. Now we needed to find a place to put our switch here for our disconnect for our battery. So we looked around and we have our airbag here, so we really didn't have anything we can do there. Right here, there's really nothing we can do there either. So right here, we decided to pop off this access door, and we have nothing behind it, so we'll have room for spacing behind it, and we'll be able to run our wire back here and loop up some extra and leave it looped up, so if this ever needs to come off for maintenance or anything, they'll be able to move this out of the way and leave our button wired up. Now to get our switch installed, we're going to need to get a hole put in there so we can get it to fit nice and snug. And what I usually do is I'll just take a step bit and I'll just run it in one side and run it in one side, and I'll keep going as I'm going along and test fit it and make sure we're not going too far until I get it to where it's just snug going in there. And with that also, if you do the step bit correctly, it'll also kind of countersink it, so it will also help keep it out of the way. You need to keep in mind when you mount this button, you want to have it put in a location where it's not going to get bumped accidentally when you're going down the road. So just make sure you put it in a location where you're not going to accidentally bump it. So here's what we ended up doing. We took our red wire and went to the yellow and we crimped that together, and we took our black wire and went to the blue and got that crimped together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take our extra wire here and I'm going to get it looped together and tucked up out of the way, and we'll pop our panel on, and that'll do it for the install of our button. Now I'm just going to run a zip tie around our wire here and we'll get it tucked away underneath the dash. Now with everything all hooked up, we can go ahead and get our fuse installed. We have a fuse holder here that mounts to the end of our solenoid. We'll just take our included fuse, our 7.5 amp fuse, and we'll get it installed in our fuse holder, and then we can test our system. Now we pushed our button and our button has us on. Now if we push our button again, kicks off our battery. And that was a look at our Roadmaster Battery Disconnect for our 2018 Ford Edge.